Kijken naar Nina Schick. Zij is een van de medewerkers van de eurokritische denktank Open Europe. En ik vroeg haar eerder vanavond op wie zij haar geld zet. Op Cameron of op Boris Johnson?
You know what? It's really far too close to call. The trend we've been seeing over the past few months is that Remain has been losing ground to Leave. But right now, the poll of poll, that's the aggregate of all the polls that have been taken over the past few months, suggests that it really is neck and neck. Interestingly, the money market suggests a completely different story. If you look where people are putting their money, most of them are putting their money on that it's going to be a vote to remain in the EU. But after our experience with the general election last year, we really don't know, and I think the next few weeks are really going to be an indicator of where we stand. Nobody knows. Your bet is as good as mine.
Okay, I won't bet. What do you think is the decisive issue?
There are many issues that are decisive, and it depends on those people. If you're pro-Brexit or pro-Remain, different issues are important. So overall, the number one issue is the economy, but then also second to that is migration and the issue of sovereignty. Those who want to leave, they rate immigration as a far more important issue than that of the economy and sovereignty as well. I think ultimately the economy is going to be the thing that speaks to swing voters, though. I think this referendum will be decided upon those swing voters and ultimately how many of them actually come and turn out to the polls, because all indication seems that those who are more in favor of Brexit are more likely to actually turn out and vote.
Okay, then let's have a look at Boris Johnson and David Cameron. Whom of the two you think is the best campaigner? Who is most persuasive?
Well, there's an interesting poll that came out today that showed that 45% of people trusted Boris on the EU, whereas only 21% trusted Cameron on the EU. So Cameron isn't doing too well right now if you look at him vis-à-vis Boris. I mean, Boris is a very persuasive public speaker. Nonetheless, it has to be said that the tenor of the debate here has almost become hysterical ever since this campaign really started kicking off. Last week, Cameron said that if we leave, World War III might erupt on the continent. And then this weekend, you had Boris Johnson's comparing the EU to Hitler. So the tone of the debate has really been disappointing. And I think those kind of attacks and that kind of rhetoric is only going to step up over the next few weeks, because Project Fear on both sides seems to be working. So it isn't at times very reasonable at all.
Why do they think that this element could be decisive, the fear-mongering?
Well, I think after the Scottish independence referendum, this Project Fear, that was very much the tactic that people saw as working. So I think the hope for the Remain side is that given that they can't make a positive emotional case for remaining in the EU, given the very skeptical nature of the British public, that on the day when people go to the polls, regardless of how they feel of the EU, even if they don't like it very much, they think that uncertainty is still too great to take that risk to jump into the unknown. And that is indeed the message that the Remain campaign has been hammering home again and again over the past few weeks.
So do you think if even the Bank of England, IMF, the city in London, they all say, we will have an economic meltdown in the UK if this happens, does that help the debate?
I think that, interestingly, on the Brexit side of the camp, they've made this very much, almost an establishment conspiracy theory. And they often point to the debate about the euro, because even then, when the UK was debating about whether or not to join the single currency, you had all kind of the establishment figures and the government and so on coming out saying, it would be a disaster if we didn't join, and so on and so forth. So that's given the Brexit camp a real advantage, even though all the powers that be have said, this is not a good idea, including the Treasury, including international organizations. They say on the outside, they were wrong then and they're wrong now. And I think that the British public almost resents it when foreign bodies step into what they think is a domestic, very important domestic debate and tell them how to vote. I think the British public resents that, and it may actually be so for the Remain side, it may actually turn things the other way.
Very clear. Nina Schick in London, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.